Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome to my channel where I will be discussing various topics of interest, such as political ones, philosophical ones, theoretical ones, and all these things. Um, Thank you for tuning in. I'd appreciate it if you give the video a like and if you would subscribe to the channel and leave your comments down below on the various topics and world events that I will be discussing on this channel. And so, for a long time, uh, I was a UFO believer, I guess you could say. I was almost, 100% sure that aliens did had to exist, because of the immensity of the universe, at least according to science. For those that tend to follow the science that might not be religious. Um, Later in life, right now I am 30 years old. Later in life, I did convert to Christianity. To put it plainly, I became a believer of the scriptures, and so I do consider myself a Christian. Although I may not understand, uh, the scriptures from Genesis to the Book of Revelations. I do believe that it is inspired by God. So I do think there is supernatural inspiration in the scriptures, and so therefore I think that the true wisdom can be found there. And whenever there is a lack of understanding, that's due to our finite minds as opposed to the infinite mind of God, who in this case is all powerful and all wise. And so, um, these truths, these mysteries can only be understood as God chooses to reveal them to men. And I do believe that the Bible is exactly that, God's revelation of himself and of the creation of the world. And again, if you want to get into a discussion exactly of what I believe, well, it's exactly that, what is written in the scriptures. However ridiculous it may sound to those who do not believe it, that is the fact of the matter. I believe for most people that truly follow what is written in the Bible. And so, with that being said, we have this phenomenon right now going on in the world of all these UFO sightings. Something that would appear to contradict what is written in the Bible, being that, the Bible doesn't talk uh, about little green men on Mars and things like that. Uh, it only states that God created the universe, He created Earth and the animals and all things, and then He created man as a special creature in His own image, this being the physical world. And so, there's really no aliens, as at least like the way we see them in Hollywood. And, that's what I would have believed before, that, this is kind of proving the Bible to be wrong, that, the fact that these beings from another world could exist, although, of course, we don't have any actual hard evidence. And you see, like, all these podcasts on, like, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan loves talking about aliens, and, that's why I like watching the show, because I was such a nerd about all that stuff back in the day. But he brings on all these guests. Of course, we just had disclosures like Pentagon officials, I think, went up to Congress, and the government kind of finally revealed like some information they have or suspicions about what these things could be. And I'm going to play a video on that here from 4 weeks ago from, looks like it's the YouTube channel for today. And so they have this guy that's been on the Joe Rogan podcast kind of talking how there's going to be more disclosure apparently provided to Congress here pretty soon. And so, it's very interesting because back in the day, I got into all of that ancient alien theory and, even looked into some, Anunnaki theory stuff. I'm pretty sure you've heard it all before. Pretty much the ancient alien theory is, people believe that there was a superior race or beings that kind of created the human civilization here on the planet, and so we're kind of possibly descendants from them, or we received some sort of special help from them, and that could explain a lot of the old world architecture that we see, such as the pyramids of Giza and all these other marvels of the ancient world. And then, of course, you have all these theories about Atlantis and they all kind of intertwine, right? And just depending on who you ask, they'll try to connect all the pieces. And so, in a lot of those ancient drawings, all these speculations arose of things looking kind of like aliens and spaceships. So that's where the ancient alien theory comes from. But anyways, it just all boils down to aliens. Is there other life outside of planet Earth? Are we the only ones here on the universe or not? And it looks like we have been getting a lot of, things taking place in the skies. And when it comes to these official government people or officials, I almost said official twice there, it becomes more credible and a little bit more alarming because they're the experts. They're at the, at the top in the technology and the ability to detect what these things are to the best of our ability as a human race, right? So they have these radars, these sensors, and all these things, and they're having trouble figuring out what this is, and so we have all these theories of what they could be. So let's actually watch this video here, and then we'll get a little bit into what I believe is happening. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. Let's watch this 5-minute video here, and then we'll continue the discussion.
The US Congress will be on the sky as they hand down a report on potentially extraterrestrial encounters.
Now look, while most sightings turn out to be like weather balloons, space junk, or foreign surveillance devices, maybe even now drones, some are unable to be explained. So joining us now to discuss this is investigative reporter and editor of extraordinarybeliefs.com, Jeremy Corbell in Los Angeles. Jeremy, good to see you. This is a huge topic. People debate it all the time. Why do you think there's been an increase, let's say, in sightings in the last year?
Yeah, it is a huge topic, and it should be a huge topic because the sightings have increased in frequency. And this is due to an actual increase of these unidentifieds flying with impunity within our restricted airspace. But also our technologies are getting better in some of our fighter planes where we're able to track and verify through multi-platforms that these things are real. UFOs are real. They outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform anything we have. So this is a real issue.
I love this story so much. US intelligence agencies are set to release a report next week about UFO incidents. What are you expecting to hear?
Yeah, well, look, fingers crossed that we do get this report next week. It was actually due on Halloween, but that could be internally. They have to put out an unclassified version because the public wants to know. This is a flight safety issue for our aviators, but also this is something that's been with humanity for a long time. So in this report, my highest hopes is there's no more obfuscation and ridicule that really kills the scientific study of what is a very real phenomenon, which is UFOs.
Yeah, right. So there's greater calls for transparency, like you're saying, for UFOs, or UAPs, as now they like to be called. I mean, should this just be, it should just be on the public record, shouldn't it?
And that's exactly what people are doing. And you're right, there is a call for transparency that is beyond anything that I have seen in my generation and in my lifetime. People want to know the truth. They have a duty, in my eyes, to find out the truth. This is a global phenomenon. I get emails from Australia.
So pretty much what he's saying right there is, there's a lot more awareness about the phenomenon now than ever before. Of course, with the invention of social media and cell phones, all these news can be seen by pretty much everyone, even people that weren't necessarily interested, in aliens, are now hearing of these things as they scroll through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. And so, it's the more witnesses you have, the more undeniable the mystery at least becomes. And so that's kind of what he's talking about here. And it's true, people are a lot more aware of this. I think people are, considering the possibility of aliens actually being real and what that could mean for, for us. And so, thanks to the technology and all of that, this has become a bigger subject. And now you have these people, these government officials actually, talking about these things before Congress, and it's being televised, and it's gaining more interest. And so the mystery almost becomes even more mysterious, right, as more people are talking about it. But anyways, let's keep playing the video here.
Every day with videos. This is something that the public is curious about, rightfully so. It's a vast universe.
Jeremy,
what we're seeing is not our technology.
Have you seen anything, or have you, through your website?
Now, right off the bat, as you see this, Jimmy, it looks like they called him. He's actually been on the Joe Rogan podcast. And, he's very nerdy about it, right? Like right there, he just said, this technology we're seeing, it's not of this planet. So he's talking about it like, this has been proven 100% that we even know what these things are, let alone, to assert that, talk about the object like it is, a some sort of spaceship or something, or an actual being of which we just don't know what materials it's made out of. So, but it's what he's saying. You might dismiss it to his interest in the matter and his tendency possibly to exaggerate these claims. But we actually have these government officials that testified before Congress saying that yes, out of like hundreds of events, these things can be attributed to this many sightings can be attributed to this. But then we have this percentage here of like 30-20 sightings where we actually had like government officials, military personnel, like seeing these physical things, the radars detecting them, right? Even having the pilots actually seeing these things and not being able to capture them or get a hold of them. As a matter of fact, they are very elusive, and they really have no explanation as to how these objects are moving the way that they are, or what they actually could be. And so, that's definitely something that is very interesting, and I would kind of highlight when talking about these things, because it's something that they keep talking about even as government officials. And so that's establishing even more this narrative that UFOs are here. Like there's a certainty that these are things that we cannot explain, so they could be supernatural, otherworldly, or something like that. But it's almost becoming a consensus now from both government officials and the whole world where we're all kind of just saying, okay, these things are intelligent, but what is it? What could it be, right? And so, as crazy as this guy might sound, this thing is gaining so much attention that these government officials are now the ones saying all these things also. So keep that in mind as we watch the rest of this video here.
And your discussions with lots of people, have you seen something that has absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, convinced you?
Yeah, it's a cumulative effect of evidence, but certainly, as you see from what I've been able to obtain and release, which is confirmed military footage of UFOs from multi-system platforms, that was something that I put out with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. Imagine what I can't put out. So there are so many things that have convinced me there's a true mystery here, and there is a physical aspect to it in craft. I don't have the luxury of disbelief.
So, for a long time, people would have thought that this sort of reporting or this sort of investigating was just a bit kooky or a bit of a conspiracy theory. And now these sorts of reports, they sort of vindicate what you're talking about. How does that make you feel?
Right. So the climate has changed in this world when it comes to this topic. I think we've sobered up. We're looking at this now through the eyes of this is actually being picked up with our radar systems by our pilots, by credible people. Sure, there's a sense of vindication for people that have been into this, but much more importantly, we are now facing reality and we're saying who are operating these craft? Where do they come from and what do they want?
I often feel like, especially leaders who probably have access to this information, like apparently Obama had access to this information, or Trump, or Joe Biden, they never say anything, and I don't know why they're not saying anything, or they're just going, guys, it's fine, it's just a few things.
Especially Trump, he said everything else.
I know, he said literally everything else. So are we going to get any closer to confirmation, possibly? I mean, next week is midterms over there, so it might be pushed again, but are we getting any closer to...
Okay, so again, this was from 4 weeks ago. So he was talking. Looks like he got into the midterms, which already happened. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. We have this widespread attention that this topic is getting here. So it's not as taboo as it was to talk about before. But yeah, what are these things? Are they aliens? Are they supernatural beings? Are they coming here in spaceships that are really fast, that have some sort of technology that can send them flying across the universe, traveling light years away? Or are they teleporting here? Are they going through a black hole? What are these things, right? So you have all these theories out there. But let me tell you what I think they are, what my opinion on the matter is. And again, I believe in the Bible now. Back in the day, I was a big-time UFO nerd. As a matter of fact, I thought that we were in 2012. I thought like the world was going to end, that aliens were going to like appear on planet Earth, and that like the pyramids of Giza and like the Mayan calendar and all these things were like things that were trying to tell us about this. So I was like, big time, put the foil hat on. And I kind of still have that interest, in these topics, but I always try to look for a biblical perspective to it and try to figure out what the mystery is in there and how that could be connected to the prophecies that are in the Bible. And so, the Bible does talk about signs being seen in the end times, that this would be one of the signs that we were getting close to the end of times, because of course the Bible is a book of prophecies, and famously in the book of Revelation, which is one of the two books that is always known, right? It's either the book of Revelation, the last book in the Bible, or the first book, Genesis. But in the book of Revelation, we have these major prophecies that, the Apostle John wrote down. And so now we have them here in book form, but it talks about the end of the world, the judgment of the human race after that, and all those other prophecies that relate to the end times. And so, biblically speaking, there is an end to the world, and there would be certain signs that would begin to manifest as we drew closer. By the simple fact that the Bible stated these things would happen, and so they have to take place if it is the truth. And so, and in the Bible it does talk about signs in the sky, and earthquakes and famines and diseases all around the world. And we are seeing these things take place. There are historical events taking place, but one of the things would be signs in the sky, and I believe that is what we are seeing here with these with these UFOs. Sorry, but what I think is happening here is that these UFOs, these beings, are actual. They are supernatural in nature, so they aren't the beings that we think about when we watch Hollywood movies. These creatures, right, coming out of spaceships made out of metal or whatever mysterious technology that those aliens have, and they traveled across the vastness of the universe and come here to meet us or to either destroy us. But usually we have this image of these of these aliens as little green men, or sometimes they even look kind of human, but they'll have like pointy ears or some different feature, and of course they're far more advanced. And we have no evidence, no hard evidence of any of this being true. As a matter of fact, back in the day when I looked into that hard evidence, you would always have researchers on the matter pretty much just releasing their research, talking about their conclusions about the many witnesses and sightings that there are, and they would all kind of come to their own conclusion. Well, I forgot where I read once, but two men they went deep into the subject, right? So they studied the subject, the witnesses, all the famous sightings from like Area 51 and whatnot, and their ultimate conclusion was that they couldn't tell for sure, that there was no hard evidence where they could say, yeah, this is the truth here, what these people are saying, or this or that. But they did say that there was a possibility that these beings could be traveling here interdimensionally because of the reports of some of these sightings, such as reportings where they see the object sitting there and then moving to another point really fast, almost indiscernible, or seeing the object there and then it just disappearing. Another of the things that are reported pretty often is that these objects don't seem to have any propulsion or heat signature around them whenever they are captured by like military instruments such as radars or like thermal cameras or infrared cameras. So this is kind of something you hear in various testimonies from various reported witnesses. And so what these two researchers said was that there was the possibility that these things could be traveling here interdimensionally. Now, of course, this is something I read before I had read the Bible. But now that I have also read the Bible, you can kind of start making the connections. Now, the Bible talks about essentially aliens. It really does. And it's, like I said, it's funny enough because you have these ancient alien theories connecting the dots. They're saying the same thing I just said, that the Bible talks about aliens, except they think that the Bible are legends of those aliens. And, I think it's the other way around. I think that the truth is found in the scriptures. And you have all these fables, all these tales that are made up by men searching for that truth. So if we look at it that way, and you have to be open-minded, of course, which you should be if you want to, if you're in a search for truth, the truth is most likely never going to be what you believe it to be, right? Because it's apart from you. You're not God. You don't have control over matter and over all things. And so you have to stay open-minded. And so again, the Bible talks about how God created the universe, everything in it, the animals. He talks about how he created man, but he also created other beings aside from men. These beings supernatural, meaning they exist essentially in another dimension, this supernatural spiritual dimension. And again, you have all these pictures that come to mind because of all these movies and the culture and all these depictions that these artists created, but we don't exactly know what that spiritual dimension looks like. But we know that the Bible does talk about these things being true, this physical reality that God created, and also a supernatural one that people see after you die, or will eventually see when all things are revealed. And again, you have a lot of these truths spilled out into the different religions. We see the Egyptians believed in the afterlife, and they had all these rituals in preparation for it and things like that. But yeah, the Bible does talk about aliens, in as much as aliens means beings from outside our earth. And so that would qualify these angels as aliens. They might not be the little green men that you would like them to be, the way that Hollywood paints them. But I think it's even more of a phenomenon to think of these actual supernatural beings. And so, the Bible talks about the names of some of these angels. Some of them, I believe, are called cherubim and seraphim. It's like these angels that are named in the Bible, and it actually describes them with wings. Some of these supernatural beings. And so, I pulled up the interdimensional hypothesis here on Wikipedia, of course, Wikipedia, just to kind of show you that this is a theory that is out there. The aliens being interdimensional, not necessarily that they are these biblical supernatural beings, but that there is a hypothesis. A lot of these people that research this stuff, that are always talking about these things, are kind of accepting as a possibility that these aliens are traveling here, from not necessarily like through matter, space, and time directly, but possibly teleporting here somehow. So let's read a little bit about that here. It says the interdimensional hypothesis is a proposal that unidentified flying objects or UFO sightings are the result of experiencing other dimensions that coexist separately alongside our own, in contrast with either the extraterrestrial hypothesis that suggests UFO sightings are caused by visitations from outside the Earth, or the psychosocial hypothesis that argues UFO sightings are best explained as psychological or social phenomenon. So again, there's all these theories, but like I said, I believe that, if they're here and they seem to appear and disappear out of nowhere, and if they can't detect any propulsion system, any heat around these objects, then how are they flying, right? Well, maybe they have some technology that doesn't emit any heat or any exhaust or anything like that that we don't know about. Or it's even more incredible than that, like I said, and these are actual supernatural beings that are coming here from another dimension with supernatural powers. And, that's exactly what these biblical aliens or angels are. They do come here to earth. They do travel from the spiritual dimension to this physical reality of matter, and they do communicate messages to the human race, but that being the prophets, according to the Bible, and they will reveal the will of God and also give prophecies of things that are to take place in the future. And so, that's exactly what I think explains this, that these sightings are aliens. Again, they just aren't green. They're supernatural beings that God created. Of course, there are good angels and bad angels. Of course, Satan was an angel. He was a cherubim or a cherubim, however you pronounce that title for that type of angel that the Bible talks about. But he was the main angel, the principal angel, and he did rebel against God. And, he drew, a part of the angels of heaven with him also. And so I can't precisely say what I think, if I think these are the good or bad angels, because the Bible does talk about, Satan being the prince of the air. He exists in this, this dimension, and so that's where you have like all the signals traveling, right? All the internet signals traveling through the airways and all of that. That's that dimension that Satan actually controls, because the Bible does call him the prince of the air. So are these UFOs? I do believe they are biblical in nature. I do believe they are supernatural beings. I do think that technically does make them aliens. I think that explains why we can't clearly get a picture of them, or hard evidence of like a clear picture of the object, if it's physical, if it seems to be translucent. But we do know that they seem to appear and disappear, and that they usually don't emit any exhaust or show any signs of a propulsion system or heat signature or anything like that. And that would be the case if these things were supernatural in nature, meaning that they come from another dimension. And so that is what I think they are. Possibly they could be beings that are looking at the world events as they are taking place. The Bible talks about this. Even though God is all-knowing and all-powerful, he does have a process to his creation. There are the laws of nature and all these things, and there is an order. And so he did send angels to send destruction, like he did with the antediluvian world, and he brought judgment to in many other instances through angels who would carry out these orders. And so the Bible does talk about these supernatural beings being in the service of God. Much like we are a creation from God, there's also this supernatural dimension. And so there is this war going on. And, this is where the aliens come into play here. I think that's why up until this day, we actually don't have a clear video like we would like to see, like we see in the movies where it's like a giant spaceship with lights and lasers and all these things. It's like these weird, it's more like a supernatural thing that is happening, right? When you look at these videos, you never see like a clear spaceship. You kind of see these orbs, and there's been descriptions about all that. And so that's why I don't think we will ever find any actual like flying saucer crashed anywhere, or like, an alien invasion or anything like that. I think that they will become more frequent. I think one day, of course, we'll know the truth of the matter. But I think things are going to start happening a lot more as, these things that were talked about in the scripture are coming to pass. And so, of course, if you don't believe in the Bible, you're not going to believe any of this. But like I always say, there's a saying that I like that says, the truth is stranger than fiction. And that is exactly what I believe is taking place today. I think some people, those that believe in the Bible, will try to put a biblical application to this. I don't think that this is widely believed in Christian circles, if you could say. But the connections are there. You can just go take a look at the History Channel, and they talk about aliens, ancient aliens, and all those things. And they always, want to talk about the Bible, but they never talk about the Bible as the actual true source of all these legends. But to me, that is the case. And so I think that, these things are supernatural. I can't quite, get into details as to how this is taking place. Again, you really can't. Our small minds, our finite minds, and small brains can't really comprehend these things, but we know that they were prophesied and spoken of, right? Such as World War III, the end of the world, and all these other things that I will be discussing on the channel. But yeah, I think that is what is happening here. So, unfortunately for Joe Rogan and, me, even maybe my old self, or many UFO enthusiasts out there, I don't think we'll ever have, the alien invasion we've all been waiting for. But I think there will be a revelation of these truths in the end, and people will come to the knowledge of the truth, which, of course, I do believe is found in the scriptures. But anyways, 40-minute video right there, guys. I am trying to do these videos, in a single take here with no major edits or anything like that, and just talk about these topics that, are part of our reality here, and, also put some biblical application to that, because, of course, that is, what I am trying to do myself, and just, I would like to hear your guys' takes on these subjects down in the comments below. Don't think I'm going to judge you or anything like that. I'm very glad to hear what your guys' beliefs are, and open up discussions on these things, as we have the tools and the means available to us with this modern day technology. But anyways, if you stayed this long, thank you. Make sure you give the video a like. Make sure you subscribe for future videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.